Hey, what's up, y'all? I'm here to talk about The Lords of Salem, which I promised I would talk about. New film written and directed by Rob Zombie, and he's kind of like stretching his wings a bit here. He's striving for something a little bit different than his usual, like, slasher flick. He's going for something a little bit more mature. It's kind of like a satanic cult film. Um, Heidi, who is played by Sherry Moon. She's a radio DJ. She seems to be a little bit troubled. She has some problems. There is like a brief shot or scene of her at AA or some sort of like, support group like that. She kind of mentions at like one point that she's clean to like one of her friends. But anyway, she's working as a radio DJ at this place. It seems like it's like a night job. Like she works overnight, and they like play metal and stuff. Um, and they receive a record at the radio station that's addressed to her, and it comes in like this wooden box, and it's from some band called the Lords, and it's just really weird sounding music. Um, the DJs like dub them the Lords of Salem because that's where they live. Um, it seems to be like a hit with the listeners, although the film does like a poor job of explaining that as a hit because like you don't have people calling in requesting it that much. But anyways, every time like Heidi hears it, she feels really sick, and she starts to act like she's been possessed or like infected or something. It gets into the weird witchcraft type stuff. There is a like this writer professor guy who wrote a book about witches of Salem or something, and he goes to the radio station and he like is there when they receive the record, and he starts investigating the record that they received. There's a cool little twist somewhere along the way. Generally, it's a pretty well made film. There are things that Rob Zombie gets right. I mean, believe me, I'm getting to the bad soon enough. But there are things that like I kind of commend Rob Zombie for, and I was kind of surprised because I always kind of like look over his talent and stuff like Halloween or House of a Thousand Corpses because generally I think they're awful films, but like he has certain talents, right? In this film, he creates a very strong sense of atmosphere. Her apartment building feels like a real lived-in place. It just has like this look to it. It's just kind of like a gritty, real place. Um, Lots of like nice shots that slowly zoom in or out of a scene. Extremely bizarre imagery, especially near the end, but throughout there's like really weird and I think pretty interesting imagery. He starts to like channel Argento or something near the end. Like there's one thing this movie does, and it gets very weird. Some of this stuff that you'll see near the end, it's almost like you're in an acid trip. But another thing I liked about it is the characters. They feel like real human beings sometimes, which is a nice change of pace for a Rob Zombie film. Uh, Instead of his usual like cartoon characters of rednecks like he likes to do, where they're swearing and like making these like outrageous like fucking dialogue sounding statements all the time. Just really bad like wooden dialogue. He doesn't do that so much in this. In fact, there's a scene where one of Heidi's friends calls her, like one of her fellow DJs that work with her. Like he calls her and he's worried about her, and it's actually kind of a poignant moment. It's kind of touching and well done, and the camera work is well done, the lighting and whatnot. So he gets that right. He also has like some nice cameos in this. Actually, they're more like smaller roles, but like they're like horror icons, like Ken Free or Dee Wallace. that's, I mean, there's a lot actually to like, and Zombie, I think he's becoming pretty confident as a director and especially as a visual filmmaker. I think he's has some real talent there, but he's not quite as skilled as a storyteller. Despite the strength, like the strengths of this film, I don't think it quite works. Uh, it's definitely like admirably weird, that's for sure. But it's just it never tries to entertain or scare the audience. It's not worried about hitting certain beats. It's honestly for like for a lot of things like I'll give it credit for. It's still really dull and slow, and you don't know where it's going, and a lot of people are not going to be satisfied when they get to where it's going. I think most mainstream audiences will hate this film. Um, and serious film goers and like horror fans, you're left with something that's kind of interesting from Rob Zombie, and certainly more than I've come to expect from him at the very least. But it's still not quite satisfying as a film. You're left with just something that's kind of interesting and doesn't quite work, despite if you've been following Rob Zombie's career, you're like, it's nice that he's trying to do something like this. And he does a lot of things right, but he just, at the core, uh, the storytelling is just not quite there. I really would like to see what you could do someday with somebody else's script, like a really well written script, and see what he could do. I think we would be surprised by him, actually. And I'm surprised to hear myself say that. But yeah, that's my thoughts on Lords of Salem. I mean, it's kind of like if you've watched House of a Thousand Corpses and every other movie he's done since then, you're gonna see this one too, and it's kind of, I think you might be a little bit surprised by what he went for here. Um, but other than that, there's not a lot of reason to check it out. Honestly, it's for people who might be interested in it, and even then, the results are going to be some people are going to like it, some people are going to not dig it. So that's Lords of Salem. I'm giving it I'm giving it 2 out of 5. I'm sorry, but there you have it.